students, yeah, faculty and everyone. Just today we are going to have a very good lecture on organic farming by Dr. N. Ravi Shankar. And Dr. N. Ravi Shankar is principal scientist at Indian Institute of Farming System Research, Modipuram since 2011, having more than 22 years of research experience in the coastal and other regions. And presently he is involved in coordination of integrated farming systems and organic farming activities at national level as project coordinator of All India coordinated project on integrated farming system. And he's looking after the national level research work of All India Network Program on Organic Farming as national principal investigator. So whenever we required an expert to speak on organic farming, we always look towards Dr. Ravi Shankar, and we have invited him several times to deliver and knowledge in this field. And he has published good number of papers, 20 research papers in non-NAS rated journal and 71 research papers and 9 review papers in National Academy of Agriculture NAS rated journal having rating more than 6. So he has published many popular articles, 35, 10 books, 53 book chapters, 12 technical bulletins, and so many publications, radio talk, TV talk, and based upon farmer participatory research, 81 geo-reference farming system success stories have been documented by involving 23 state agriculture universities. That is really very big contribution from Dr. Ravi Shankar. And as a national principal investigator of All India Network Program on Organic Farming, this is a very big project, network project, and it is running through several states, maybe 18 or 20 states, and he's coordinating that work. And it is a cropping system perspective have been prepared for 79 cropping systems suitable to 14 states of India. Means they have developed organic production package of different crops in different states. That is also, that was the area which was very limited knowledge was available in that field. Now they have compiled, they have written very good information on this in the form of organic farming crop production guide. That can be quite useful to the students. And Dr. Ravi Shankar has received 3 national awards and 8 institutional awards and 6 academic society awards. Big achiever in his field. He also visited Bhutan, Netherlands, Mexico in connection with organic farming and integrated farming system research, collaboration and linkage. So I hope that now you understand that he is well accomplished person, scientist, and now I request him straightway to start his talk. And at the end of the talk, you will have a chance to interact with him. Maybe you can seek your clarification at the end of the talk. Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Ravi Shankar, floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. Hope I'm audible.
Yes.
And slides are also visible.
Yeah, you can make it full if possible.
Yes, yes. Is it okay, Dr. Saab?
Yeah, it is
okay.
Fine.
So, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Dinesh Kumar for inviting us to make a presentation on this organic farming status, challenges, and research approach. First of all, thank you to all the students and also all the other faculties who have joined for this special virtual lecture on the organic farming aspects. And many of you must be aware that our institute, Indian Institute of Farming System Research, is located at Modipuram in Meerut. Just it is 100 kilometers away from Delhi. And we are working mainly on the 4 research themes. One is on integrated farming systems. Second is on the cropping systems and resource management. Third is on the organic agriculture systems that is being addressed through the one national scheme, All India Network Program on Organic Farming. from 2004 onwards. From 2004 to 2016-17, we were working on only the 13 states. And considering and also the growing importance of the organic farming, ICAR expanded this particular network program to cover 16 states from the 2015-16 onwards. And very recently, our institute also been added as a natural farming research center also. So we are also undertaking the natural farming along with the organic farming, cropping systems, and also the integrated farming systems. So as given in the title, I will be dealing this lecture on 3 aspects. The first one, what is the current status of the organic farming in India at the global level, and also why it is required and where we should go and where we should not promote the organic farming. So at the initial stage, I will cover this one. And the second one is what are all the different challenges or the constraints which are pertaining to the organic farming, practice of organic farming by the farmers or for the researchers, and also the for the extension agents. So that will be the second part. And the third part is how we are addressing this, we are approaching this through the research programs, how we are addressing the different constraints or the challenges through the organic farming research. So this is the third 3 different parts. Coming to the first part, that is status. We all aware that India having a 328.7 million hectare of geographical area, 2.4% of the world land, supporting the 17.5% of the world population. And our agriculture is having the wide variety of climate, wide variety of growing of crops, practices, all those things. And currently, as per the latest estimate available, we are producing around 308.65 million tons of food grains. However, our requirement, as per the estimates available, we need to produce 405 million tons of food grains to feed the 1.7 billion population. And with this we have to achieve with the various limitations, like our 50% of the area is under the rainfed, and also our cropping intensity is only 143.7% only currently. And around 60% of the population, they depend on the agriculture. There is a erratic rainfall, weather related risks, which all happening in the agriculture. So with this, we have to achieve the requirement by 2050. And out of the 745 districts which are available currently in India, 239 districts, they consume less than 100 kg per hectare of nutrients, although our average consumption of the nutrients is around 140 kg per hectare. So these are all the potential districts where we need to concentrate or promote the organic farming, certified organic farming at the initial stage. And out of these 239 districts also, there are more than 150 districts where the usage of nutrient is less than 50 kg per hectare. So these areas are potentially we can target for the organic farming, promotion of the organic farming. And why, although we are going for a higher production and all the other achievements in the agriculture sector, but still the soil health is the major concern. If you talk to any policymakers or any farmers, they used to tell that the soil health which were there earlier, now it is not there. That means for same quantity of production of the grains, we need to apply more amount of fertilizers. So that is again influencing or reducing the marginal returns for the farmers. And there is a imbalanced utilization of the NPK also against the ideal ratio of 4:2:1. current NPK use ratio is around 7.1 is to 2.7 is to 1. That is again affecting the soil physical, chemical, as well as the biological properties very badly. And that results also into the different micronutrient deficiencies. If you look at the world, across the world, over the years, due to the faulty management practices or the inadequate application of the organic manures, the deficiency, nutrient deficiency, especially the micronutrients, zinc deficiencies, started appearing. If you see the India, it is completely deficient. Widespread deficiency of zinc is observed. And the recently, Government of India is issuing the soil health card. Soil health card. If you look at the status of the soil health card issued across the different states and cropping systems, then if you can see, more than 30% of the samples or the soil health cards are deficient in zinc, sulfur, and also the iron. These micronutrients or the secondary nutrients also play a very vital role in the production systems. So what we have to do is, although we have achieved the production, but it is at the cost of the soil. It is at the cost of the soil health. So this, whatever the deficiency, micronutrient deficiency, which is happening in the soil, it is directly affecting the health of the people, health of the livestock, as well as the health of the environment also. In spite of we producing more than 300 million tons, still we have a malnutrition. So that is shows that there is a mismatch between the soil, livestock, human, and also the environmental continuum. And this zinc deficiency, which was mapped with that of the zinc deficiency in the soil, zinc deficiency happening in the soil was related to the zinc deficiency happening in the human. So there is a correlation, which a direct relationship which was established, that where whatever the micronutrients or the secondary nutrients which is deficient in the soil is affecting the health of the human also. This has been confirmed global level. And moreover, if you see the dietary pattern is also changing over the period. People are looking for the diversified products. They are moving from the food grains to the non-grain crops. It is mainly due to the improvement in the income of the income, especially the growing number of the middle income groups. They want a diversified products. At the same time, they also want a safe product. Safe products means safe without much of synthetic fertilizers or the synthetic pesticides. So this growing of this trend is also helping for the organic farming area to grow in a significant way. And once you compare the conventional and organic systems, if you look at in a holistic way, organic has the several advantages which are of environmental nature, sustainable nature, and preserving the soil health and also the production system for the future generations. If you accept the yield, all the other parameters, if you look at this particular comparative graph, the organic system is having the higher advantage. And even yield also, what we found through our research program, if the organic farming is done in a scientific way, the yield can also be enhanced to the level of conventional production systems. So if you look at this, there are several advantages which are already very clearly mapped in this particular diagram. For example, nutritional quality, minimizing the exposure of workers to the pesticides, employment, ecosystem services, profitability, this minimizing the water pollution, biodiversity. All these advantages are very clearly documented under the organic production systems compared to the conventional systems. And at the Ludhiana, for almost more than 15 years, we are maintaining this particular plot. just a adjacent plot. One is maintained with the inorganic, complete inorganic management, and another is the maintained under the organic systems. By saying the soil physical condition itself, you can very well identify which soil is good, which practice is good, and where the biodiversity is better, where the soil, this water holding capacity will be better, and all the soil health, whatever the parameters, it is improving over the years. And coming to the organic farming, as a globally, 72.3 million hectare is under organic farming, practiced in 187 countries. It is growing every year, year after year, and there are globally 3.1 million organic farmers are available, or they are involved in the organic farming, out of which, if you look at this, 43.8% are from the India. So that means, what being a small holdings or the marginal holdings, India is having the #1 position in terms of number of farmers involved in the organic farming. Although in terms of area, we are at either 8th or 9th position, just changing year after year. So this global market is estimated to be around 106 billion euros, especially for the food market, organic food market. So this is about the globally, and for at the country level, in order to promote the organic farming, Government of India or the state governments, different state governments are having the special schemes for the promotion of the organic farming, which has resulted into the 45-fold increase in the area under organic farming compared to the 2003-4. Last 2 decades, we could able to increase the area by 45 times. That means earlier it was only 53,000 hectare. Now we are having almost close to 2.8 million hectare of the under the organic farming, and especially during the last 6 years, the annual growth rate is about 22%. That means every year the area is growing at the rate of 22%. And there are 4 main schemes, government schemes, which are available for the support to the organic farmers. One is the National Program on Organic Production, which actually gives the standards, national standards, guidelines, and all other things. The second is the Paramparagath Krishi Vikas Yojana, popularly known as PKVY. It is being implemented across the different states in a cluster approach. Then the third one is the Mission Organic Value Chain Development for Northeastern region, especially for the northeastern states where the fertilizer usage is less. So those areas, a special scheme was devised 4 years back, and that has given a lot of impetus to the organic farming in those areas where the pesticides or the fertilizers are not used. And after implementation of these schemes, the incremental in yield and also the benefit to the farmers were observed. And the fourth scheme, which is being exclusively for the implemented in the Ladakh region, that is Modern Organic Agriculture Development Initiative. Modern Organic Agriculture Development Initiative, especially for the Ladakh region under the large area certification. So these are all the certain schemes which is supporting the farmers for the percolation of the organic farming. And with respect to the technology development or the research component, the only one scheme which is being operated at the national level is All India Network Program on Organic Farming, which is being operated from our institute, India Institute of Farming System Research. And for the past almost 16-17 years, we are continuously upgrading the packages, developing the new technologies, developing the new products for the promotion of the organic farming. Then, if you look at the organic farming in India, what is the current status of area or the people involved? What is the current status of certification? Third-party certification, which is mainly for the export purpose. Around 2.66 million hectare of area is under third-party certification, and which is administered by the APIDA, under the Ministry of Commerce, and around 0.73 million hectare is under PGS certification. Now it is there. So the PGS area under PGS is nothing but participatory guarantee system, wherein the group of farmers are formed and then they are facilitated for the certification without much charges and without the much documentation. So that is the PGS system. There are PGS portal is there. Anybody can visit and anybody can register and get it certification through the regional council and other formalities. Then if you look at the this globally, we have currently 4.7% of the global area under the organic farming, and compared to our net cultivated area, it is only 2.4%. The government is targeting to bring 4% of the net cultivated area by March 2026. This is the target set by the government, for which the different research developmental aspects are being undertaken. And as I said, the last 5 years, the growth of this sector is very immense, and it is growing in leaps and bounds. Then, if you look at this production in terms of production under NPOP as well as the PGS, around 34 lakh tons of organic products are being produced, which are marketed at the local level, domestic market, as well as at the international level also. And around 28 lakh farmers are involved as per the, including the FIBL or the FIBL, they have estimated only based on the third party certification. Whereas the internal assessment at the country level, it indicates that around 28.25 lakhs farmers are involved in the organic production systems through the NPOP and also the PGS programs. And the market status, if you look at the current market status, it is total size is estimated to be 8,500 crore, out of which 5,000 crore is for the export market. Because once you identify a particular commodity and farmers are able to grow this one, then automatically they can earn the good income from the organic farming also. Then earlier, the major issue, one major issue was that 3-4 years back, people used to say, sell in the market, that any crop or any commodity which is grown or even under the conventional system or the chemical food systems, they were selling it as a organic product. But now, after this FSSAI, this Food Safety Standards Organic Foods Regulations 2017 Act came into existence, nobody can sell it as a organic foods if it is grown under the conventional production systems. So by this way, the lot of furious products which are available in the market has been reduced over the years, because somebody is caught hold, then they can be penalized under this particular act. And I told certification was a major issue earlier. Now the PGS portal is available. PGS portal, the people can visit, they can join with the local group, they can easily access the certificates for the, because certification is very much essential under the organic farming. And these certifications are very no cost is involved in this particular type of third party this PGS certification. Then the marketing was the major issue earlier. It was a major constraint earlier. Now the online marketing portal is initiated, jviketi.in, through which the buyers can buy, producers can register and sell their producers can also purchase the inputs, or the input suppliers can also directly contact to the farmers. So this particular platform is also created to reduce the constraint of marketing. Otherwise, people earlier, they used to tell us when we go for the characterization of the organic farmers, they used to say that we are not getting the market, we are unable to sell, we are not getting the inputs, all those time. Although now it is there, but this issue has been solved to the greater extent due to this jviketi.in portal. Then this is about the current status. Then coming to the challenges, what are all the challenges which we are facing or the organic growers are facing under the organic farming, especially if particular farmer or the particular organic grower, if she is not planning it properly, there is a low crop productivity during the initial 3 to 4 years if the practices are not followed. However, in our experiments, which I will be explaining, if you follow the scientific organic farming packages, the yield loss during the initial conversion period can be minimized. The second important challenge or the constraint is that soil and plant health management in organic farming is labor and knowledge intensive. Unlike conventional systems, you have got a ready-made solutions of pesticides or the herbicides. But here you have to use the labor or the biocontrol agents, botanicals, and for which you need a knowledge for which crop, which stage, what kind of materials I need to mix it. So this is the another major constraints with respect to the organic farming. Earlier, although the certification system is eased during the last 3-4 years, but still visiting of the illiterate farmers to the site and getting it registered for the PGS portal is again a major constraint. And especially the third party certification for the export market, it involves the lot of documentation and also a financial implication. So that is again limiting the farmers to go for this type of certifications, third party certification. Then being a small holdings or the marginal holdings, the aggregation and the transportation of the produce is becoming costly for the, especially in the intensive hill areas, because these northeastern hills or our Himalayan hills, they are mostly suitable for the organic farming. But then again, aggregation, transportation to the other places, it is adding the cost. So that is another major impediment in the organic farming. Then the important is inadequate post-harvest and value addition infrastructure, especially for the perishable commodities. So those type of infrastructure needs to be created at the ground level. Then they also face difficulties for the market linkage. Although portal is there, due to the low level of literacy or low level of awareness, the farmers are not able to register in the online portal and they are not able to market. So this is again linking those small and marginal farmers to the market is again a challenge. Then quality control facilities, especially for the organic manures. There are a lot of variation in the nutrient content of the organic inputs, especially the vermicompost, biofertilizers, or the botanicals, or the pesticide residue testing. This is again the challenge, this one. And if you look at the investment on research, extension, and education, it is again a very low level at currently. Currently, if you see, less than 0.05%, less than 0.5% of the total allocation under the research and development for the organic, the total allocation for the research and development on agriculture is spent on the organic farming. But the area is growing, so we need to increase the investment on this research extension and education also. Of course, very recently ICR also approved the separate course on the MSc in organic farming. So certainly that will help for the lot of human resource development in the country. Then another major impediment or the challenge is for the organic farming is there are different forms of organic farming which is being promoted by the different group of people like NGOs or the local farmers based on their wisdom or based on their experience. So that is again some of the practices they work on the ground, but some of the practices they get they do not give the higher productivity or the equivalent productivity. And farmers, they practice for 1 or 2 years and then they leave it and again they are going back to the conventional systems. So we need to streamline this also. There are several forms which I will deal little later. So this is again a major challenge, that how we can provide the package of practices, a scientifically proven package of practices to the farmers, how to take when many people are telling many ideas. So this is again a challenge. Then the S Bank, in collaboration with the APIDA, they have identified the different gaps in the organic farming. Look at this non-availability of the organic varietal seeds. It is very high. And if you look at the as per NPOP standards, organically produced seeds should be used. If seeds are not available, organic produced seeds are not available, then the seeds which are produced from the conventional system can be used. Untreated seeds or the washed by proper handling or proper washing, those seeds can be utilized. Then plant protection, weeds, these are all the big challenge and which is critical. Testing laboratory, we are not having that much of testing laboratory, residue testing laboratory especially. Transportation, supply chain infrastructure, this is the S-Bank report. So this is what this relative importance is given for the different components. And as I said earlier, the farmers are getting confused with the different forms of the organic agriculture. If you look at the organic farming, as such, it is a one kind of a method. And then followed by nowadays, very recently, people are talking about the natural farming also, wherein this Bijamrit, Ganjivamrit, Achadana, Wapsa, intercropping, all these are being practiced along with the cropping systems in a cropping systems or the diversity mode. So this is again a challenge that how under the natural farming and organic farming we can integrate and go for a better productivity. Then biodynamic farming, it is another method of this organic farming or the another way the people or the group of farmers they promote. Then Rishi Krishi, Panchagavya Krishi, then Nat Eco farming, wherein it based on the neighborhood resource enrichment. You help me, I will help you. This way, the plant roots and also the soil systems and also the human system, livestock system, everything gets help each other. So this type of several homo farming, permaculture, this type of several, there are 8 different forms of this organic farming or the methods which are synthetic free or less synthetics are being promoted in the country. And we have evaluated all these practices across the different locations, regions. And what we found was that only the science-led promotion of different forms of BPKP, including the organic farming, is very much essential to compete with the conventional systems or to keep the productivity of the organic systems at par or on par with that of the conventional systems. And just before going into the research approach, why I am taking, although we have an example for the different states, I am taking the example of Punjab in my presentation because Punjab is having the highest use of fertilizers and also the synthetics in the agriculture. So here also the Kharif farmers are growing different crops under the organic farming. We went for a survey, a geotagged characterization of organic farmers, wherein we found that the basmati rice, fodder, maize, different crops are being grown by the farmers during the Kharif season, as well as the Rabi season, wheat, gram, mustard, fodder, linseed, lentil. These farmers are being, these crops are being grown by the farmers. Then the major issue with respect to the organic farming practice by the farmers, they depend on a single source or a kind of a locally available resources like farmyard manure, Jivamrit, green manure, cow dung, cake extract. So these are all the inputs. Mainly they depend on the Kharif crop and also mainly the Rabi crops. They are not going for the scientifically proven this compost, enriched compost, prom, all those things they are not using. So this is a major constraint which is limiting the yield of the crops under the organic farming at the farmer's field. Then weed management also, the farmers are depending only on the conventional approaches. They are not going for the proven scientific practices like cultural, mechanical, biological controls. Mainly if you see, hand weeding is given wherein the labor is much costly. Then straw mulching is done by very less farmers, although it has a very good effect on the weed control as well as the soil conservation, moisture conservation, and other important advantages in both Rabi crops and Kharif crops. So this is the farmers how they are doing it. And for especially for the insect pest disease management, the farmers are depending only on these sources like neem paste formulations, sour butter milk, or the insect traps. Although there are several other options are available, plant growth rate promoting bacteria is there. You have got a biocontrol agents, trichoderma, trichogramma, all those things are there. But they are being utilized by the very limited farmers only in this one. Rabi crops also almost the same type of materials are being utilized. So because of these lacuna, the farmers are getting the lower yield compared to the experimental yield. So there is a huge yield gap is there between the scientifically proven organic farming packages compared to that of the farmers what they are getting on the field. So what kind of research approach which we have followed during the last several years for improving the production or the productivity or the spread of the organic farming area in our country, would like to highlight in this third part of my presentation. So this is what our All India Network Program on Organic Farming, operating in the 20 locations covering 16 states. There are 11 state agriculture universities are involved in our program, 7 ICR Institute, 1 deemed university, that is Ramakrishna Vivekananda University is also involved in our program. 10 agroclimatic zones we are covering currently, and also the 12 agroecological regions are being covered under this particular program. Then our priority was to bridge the yield gap and develop the technologies or the packages. Here, more than 3,000 farmers, organic farmers, we have characterized, including around the 100 natural farming farmers also. And what we found that after analysis of the packages adopted by the farmers and also our own packages, due to the package gap, the yield gap is ranging from the 4% to 50% in the different crops and the different regions. When you look at these crops also, the yield gap is more in the Rabi crops compared to the Kharif and also the summer crops. The Rabi crops yield gap is mainly on account of the soil related constraints or the soil microbial activity related constraints. So this way the farmers needs to be educated with the scientific package of practices to realize the higher yield. Then after realizing that there is a huge yield gap and also the resource availability at the farmers field. So there is, if you look at the production issues, there are 3 major production issues with respect to the organic farming. Whenever you talk with anybody, they ask how much of organic material is required, whether this much of material will be available to meet the nutrient demand of the crops. So the first question, which was that high volume of organic material is required to meet the nutrient demand of organic production, which we have addressed it through a combination of the sources, including the cropping systems approach, green manure, leguminous crops. Then after building up of the soil fertility, we went for a reduced application or the reduction in the application of the manures. This is the approach. And for the pest and disease management, well-proven scientific practices. There are integrated pest management measures are available, cropping systems approach, mechanical traps, trap crops, intercropping, leaf extract, and also utilization of the botanicals, bioagents. These all help for the pest and disease management under the organic production systems. And for the weed control, certainly farmers, they are depending only on the mechanical weeding. However, it needs to be controlled. It needs to be, weeds needs to be controlled through a combination of the practices. All these, if somebody wants to do the organic farming in a successful way, based on our experience, what we found was that we need to combine the three things. One is the tradition, another is the innovation, and third one is the science. Tradition, there are several indigenous organic preparations, locally available inputs, oil cakes, green menus. These were the traditional methods which we need to bring back to restore the soil fertility, soil productivity, and also the crop productivity. Then the second one is there are many innovative inputs which has come either through the conventional research systems or under the organic production system research, like biofertilizers, enriched compost, phosphorus-rich organic manures. So several things are there. So that also we need to combine it along with the tradition. And the third important one is the science. So that means a plant requires 120 kg of nitrogen or the 60 kg of nitrogen. So that needs to be supplied through the various sources. It may be through the traditional sources or through the innovative inputs, and also some kind of gradual reduced application of the nutrients. So these three things we need to combine for a successful practice of the organic farming. Then again, this is another important one. Earlier, the external input applied was very low. The output was also low. So that form of organic agriculture was called as the nomadic agriculture or the traditional farming. However, if you increase the input from the low to the medium, and also the output also it will come to the medium, by involving the traditional, innovative, and also the science-based inputs, then a standard organic agriculture can be practiced with a medium level of output, which can meet the food demand of our country, our population, nutritional demand of the soil, as well as for the human population, livestock population also. And along with that, if you add the many practices such as conservation agriculture practices like mulching, reduced tillage, then organic farming systems, then with the medium level of external input itself, we can obtain the higher level of output under the organic farming also. So this is what based on our research, which we have this one. And because India being a very large country, having a diverse use of inputs, cropping system, climatic conditions, and also our requirement is higher, food requirement is higher due to the growing population. At one go, we cannot go for the organic farming. We have to go for a phased approach of promotion of the organic farming in India, for which we have developed a methodology for identification of the niche area for the different regions or the different states, districts. And based on this approach, we can identify these are all the areas where in first tier, we can go for the organic farming. In certain, this one, second tier, we can go for the towards organic approach, by gradually reducing the synthetic inputs. So this way we need to plan, this needs to be promoted, organic farming needs to be promoted in the country. And for assessing the niche area or for identifying the niche area, we need to consider these parameters like organic carbon. What is the current status of organic carbon? If it is more than 0.75% or the more than 1%, straight away we can think of going for the organic farming. Similarly, what is the current level of use of seeds, whether hybrid seeds are used or the traditional varieties are used. So there are several parameters which should also be considered while planning for the niche area. Then nutrient management practices, biomass production level, synthetic pesticide load. What is the current level of synthetics? If it is more than 1 kg of active ingredient is used currently, and all of a sudden we stop, then there will be a huge significant reduction in the yield productivity, and then again farmers will be at loss. So we need to go for a careful approach, yield level, then category of the field, suitability of that particular location for the diversity, because organic farming, you have to maintain a diversity of the crops to reduce the incidence of the pest and diseases, and also provide a natural insurance against the crop failures. So this way we need to plan. And in our research program, we have attempted two major approaches. One is the organic management approach, and another one is the towards organic approach. First, organic approach, this is being evaluated as per the NPOP standards, that is National Program on Organic Production Standards, with rotational manuring and reduced manuring. Rotational manuring means for 2 years, we will go for a 100% supplementation of the nutrients through the organic sources under the complete organic management. And after that, 1 year or 2 years, we again stop it. This is mainly to reduce the cost of cultivation. If you see, under organic farming, due to the high bulky nature of the organic manures and also the low level of nutrient content in that, the transportation cost or the cost of production is higher. So this type of rotational manuring reduces the significantly reduces the cost of cultivation. And the second one is the reduced manuring, means after building up of the soil organic carbon to the level of 0.75% or more than 1%, the reduced application of the manures is practiced. That is 75% of the nutrients demand of the crops are met through the organic sources available, and also the remaining 25% is not supplemented. In addition to the 75%, the indigenous sources which are available at the farm can be Jiva, Merutkan Jiva. These can be added as a additives to the reduced manurings. The another approach is that towards organic approach, wherein especially in the high input intensive systems, we go for a staggered reduction of the synthetics, like fixed reduction and also the flexible reduction, wherein every year 10% or 25% synthetics are reduced, so that in a gradual or phased way, the field is converted to the organic systems without loss of yield or without loss of economics or the net returns to the farmers. So this is the approach which we are following under the different regions or the different states and different cropping systems. And what we found that, for example, basmati rice equivalent yield of basmati rice wheat system, we found that the organic production systems with reduced manuring or the rotational manuring, it is almost gives the on par yield with that of the integrated crop management practices or the towards organic approach practices. Then there are indigenous organic manures which are available. I told the tradition. Traditional means we have to inbuilt indigenous practices needs to be integrated into the organic farming. And cow dung, cow urine, these act as a source of beneficial bacteria, source of different nutrients, and also the useful for building the soil organic carbon content also. And many a times these also act as a energy source for the multiplication of the soil microorganisms in the soil. So that again, it mobilizes the native soil nutrient availability to the crops. So this way, these indigenous organic manures has got a significant role in the organic farming. Then there are many biostimulators or the plant protection agents which are identified or which are identified through the indigenous traditional knowledge, which are also being validated at the many places, like for example, Panchagavya, Swasthagavya, these so many items are there, so many plant protection agents are being available. The main advantage of these biostimulators or the plant protection agents are it can be prepared locally without any additional cost, and this can contribute also to some extent for the improving the soil health as well as the productivity of the crops, if not for the fully. Then we found that integration of these indigenous sources under the rotational and reducing manuring packages has got the significant improvement in terms of yield as well as the significant reduction in the cost of cultivation under the organic farming. So this way we have to address the issues of productivity, issues of cost of cultivation, and also the maintaining the soil health. Then the basic components under the organic farming, which mainly includes the diversity of plantations, cropping systems, crop rotation, soil fertility management, selection of varieties. These are all very, very important under the organic farming components of this one. Even a green manuring practice, we all know that green manuring practice is only it supplies the nitrogen or the nutrients to the soil. Apart from that, these green manures can also act as a nematicidal or fungicidal compounds during a decomposition, that is called as the biofumigation, and it also stimulates the bioantagonists to the soil-borne pathogens. So this way, the green manuring not only help for the nutrient supplementation, it also acts as the biofumigation and also the controls the many of the soil-borne diseases, root rot, it reduces the infestation. This has been proven scientifically. Then the nitrogen budgeting of the organic forms are very, very important. This is very, very important in the sense for supplying the nutrient to the crops and also to save the cost of cultivation. Because everybody thinks that no, every year I need to apply 12.5 tons of farm manure, vermicompost, everything we need to apply, then only I can get the good crop. No, it is not so. Compared to the fertilizers, the use efficiency is much higher under the organic sources, like 50 to 60% in case of organic manures, where it is fertilizers, it is roughly around 30 to 35%. So we have to take into consideration of the soil organic matter, CN ratio, then cover crops, whatever the other components which we are undertaking as a diversity of the under the organic farming. So all those things N supplementation we need to calculate, and only the remaining N needs to be incorporated into the soil organic pool. Like in general thumb rule, which we found is that in case of organic carbon rich soils, only 65 to 70% of the recommended dose of nutrients through organic sources is needed. And in case of less, then there may be a more amount of inputs are required at the initial stage. And if you look at the, while supplementing the nutrients, only N is taken into consideration due to the continuous application of the compost or the enriched compost. Then automatically your micronutrients, phosphorus, potassium in the soil gets improved over the years. And because nitrogen is having the direct correlation with that of the yield compared to the other nutrients. So this way we need to plan the organic farming to reduce the cost of cultivation, improve the productivity, and also maintain the soil health. So these three things, if we are able to address it in a holistic way, then we can achieve the desired goal of improving the productivity under the organic farming. Then, based on these approaches, we found that the yield ratio is much higher for the many of the crops which we have evaluated across the locations through this type of scientific approaches. Yield ratio means it is the organic yield over the inorganic yield. Wherever it is more than 1, the organic is giving better yield than the inorganic management due to the improved soil conditions and also many other factors. However, in case of Rabi crops, due to the limitations in the soil and also the soil related temperature related microbial activity, still there is a reduction in yield, but then it is not that much of significant to the reduce the economics, because under organic farming people also get a premium price for the Rabi crops or the Kharif crops, so that can contribute even if it is a marginal reduction in the yield of the Rabi crops also. Then this is what we observed under the rainfed situations, soybean wheat system in Madhya Pradesh. Even in people are saying that during the initial 1 to 3 years the yield loss will be there. But if you see in the rainfed production systems, even in the first year and the second year, there was a lesser yield, not significant lesser yield, marginally lower yield was there under the organic production systems. But after 2 years, this has improved significantly the yield, and it is giving continuously a better yield under the organic production system compared to your inorganic or the towards organic approach, that is nothing but the integrated crop management practices. Then, if you look at this basmati rice yield, if you look at this all along almost 14-15 years of evaluation, indicates clearly that there is a significant improvement in the yield under the organic production system compared to the conventional systems. Then the productivity of wheat also, it can be enhanced very significantly by combination of the sources. Instead of single source, if you farmers depends only on the farmyard manure, if they go for this type of 3 combinations, like farmyard manure plus vermicompost plus castor cake, especially during the Rabi season, these yields are on par with that of the conventional system. As earlier I told Rabi crops, the yields are low, but for that particular also we have to develop a management practices, and for which the combination of this farmyard manure, vermicompost and castor cake, it can give the better yield under the organic production system, on par yield with that of the chemical systems. Here mainly, this is mainly due to the castor cake, which is a concentrated manure having the higher amount of nitrogen and releases the nitrogen in a during the winter low temperature period, also readily available nitrogen to the crops. So this way we need to alter the management practices for the Rabi crops to have the on par better productivity under the organic production system. And yeah, after 7 years of period, we have assessed the soil organic carbon. Soil organic carbon invariably in across the different locations and also the cropping systems, organic systems recorded the better soil organic carbon compared to that of the inorganic and integrated crop management practices. Once the soil organic carbon improves, then the soil microbial biomass carbon also gets improved, and the availability, native availability of the nutrients will be much higher under the organic production systems. And apart from that, once we improve the organic carbon, the water holding capacity of the soil also gets improved, and that help for the saving in the water, energy, and so many advantages associated with the improved soil organic carbon. Then so accordingly, we have devised the package of practices comprising of the combination of the nutrient sources for the different cropping systems for the different states. And what we found that across the different locations, many farmers, they think that only Panchagavya, biodynamic, or these natural farming practices can help them to increase the productivity. No, if they are following only that practices, in the long run, they are going to lose the yield significantly. Maybe first year they may get a on-par yield due to the native supply of the nutrients, but then due to the soil mining, which is happening over the years, those type of practices like use of Panchagavya or natural farming practices leads to the deficiency in the nutrients and again affecting the. Then we also yield ratio of once is there.
रेडियो बज रहा है, रेडियो बज रहा है. हेलो, म्यूट कर दो सर.
Yes, okay, that's all. So this way, we have compared the different production systems like coarse rice-based cropping system, basmati rice-based cropping system, soybean-based cropping system across the different locations, and we found that in all the systems, the organic is giving the better yield in Kharif, Rabi season through this type of scientific management practices. And in case of vegetable also, though the yield ratio is better under the towards organic approach, that means gradual reduction, but still not significantly lower than the organic production systems. And similarly, the net returns, soil organic carbon, all these type of practices gets improved under this. Then another is the reduced manuring packages. This is mainly to reduce the cost of cultivation under the organic farming by integrating the regular organic manures with that of the indigenous manures or the indigenous practices available. This also has been devised for the many cropping systems, and this has resulted in almost 30% of the reduction in the cost of cultivation for the farmers. At the same time, giving the on-par productivity or the comparative productivity with that of the conventional systems. So this is the another approach. Then we are also evaluating these resource conservation practices. They also play a very important role under the organic production systems. Like you have got a broad bed furrow system, raised and sunken bed system, furrow irrigated raised bed systems, all with the crop residue mulching, intercropping. All these type of resource conservation practices also helps the farmers to get a better yield and also the better profitability to the level of even up to 74%, which we have observed compared to the existing farmers practices. Then the another important aspect which needs to be considered under the research approach which we have employed is that identification of the suitable varieties for the organic production systems. Because what happens even in the traditional varieties, some of the traditional varieties which are grown in the Chhattisgarh or many parts of the country, they have got a very good aromatic, medicinal values, all those things. And if these varieties are supported with the scientific management practices under organic farming, their yield level can be enhanced significantly. Even Chhattisgarh, this particular rice variety, the yield has gone up to 4 tons per hectare, which is significantly higher than our national average yield. So national average, it is higher than the national average yield. So that is possible through the organic farming practices. So far we have identified almost for 104 varieties we have identified for the different states, for the different crops, almost 21 crops we have identified. These varieties are recommended and these are being promoted under the Paramparagath Krishi Vikas Yojana also. So these also play a very important role, not only in terms of productivity. Wherever there is some kind of insect disease problems are there, those areas we can also select disease resistant varieties that can be easily grown under the organic production system. So from the point of view plant protection also, the varietal selection plays a very important role compared to this one. The another approach which we are promoting is the integrated organic farming systems, wherein the farming system concept is applied to the organic farming. The area allocation is made for the food system, fodder system, kitchen system, pest repellent system. There are many pest repellent plants which can be grown in the area, and pest repellent, if you plant it around the field, you automatically have got a ecological engineering aspects coming into place and coming into action, and which reduces the insect diseases under the organic production systems. And the dairy component is integrated into the system because 86% of our farmers are having the dairy component, and very easily that bio input which are required for the organic farming can be produced within the farm through this type of integrated farming systems, and we can meet the almost 100% of the nutrient requirement through this type of integrated organic farming system. This is the another approach which we have employed, and this has given the lot of impetus to the organic farming, and government is also promoting this type of IOFS models in the different states. So far we have developed 8 integrated organic farming system models suitable for the 7 states, and this is the one model village cluster which we have created in the Sikkim state through our NPOF program, All India Network Program on Organic Farming Program, wherein the lands were either fallow or not cultivated properly. They were having the water related constraints. So many things were there, and we made a lot of interventions in this particular village through this providing this integrating the animal component, resource conservation packages, diversification with the vegetables, cereal crops, rice, all those things, zero till cultivation. All these type of interventions were made in a cluster approach involving more than 100 households in that particular village. So that has helped for the realizing the higher yield income from these maize-based cropping system, rice-based cropping system, and also the vegetable-based cropping systems. And this has resulted in the 80% saving in the nutrient and seed requirement, which can be produced within the farm itself, within the farmers group itself, and plant protection resources can also be saved. Then integration of livestock in the IOFS model gives the additional returns to the farmers in terms of selling milk, and also in terms of adding the manures to the soil, or in terms of adding the value through the production of the bio inputs, like whatever the bio inputs which are required in the form of a vermicompost, vermiwash. All these can be produced once we integrate the livestock component into the systems. And the BC ratio, net return, all these were found to be better from 1 acre of IFS model, around 0.5 hectare of IFS model. So this 1.08 lakhs income can be very easily obtained through this type of systems. And so far we have demonstrated this type of IOFS model, which is having the better energy utilization, better output, better employment for the family, by involving around 200 and 300 households in the East Sikkim district under our program. Then weed management is the another major challenge under the organic farming, for which also we have developed several combination of the practices, including the stale seed bed, use of conoweeder, and also use of spraying of the Cassia Prosopis juliflora as a post-emergence control of weeds. There are closer by altering the plant geometry, closer row spacing wherever the weed infestation is more. So the by through altering the plant geometry also we can manage the weeds. There are several options are available, and there are non-herbicide weed control strategies which we have employed in our program to manage the weeds. Because when we went for a survey, geotagged characterization of the farmers, almost 60% of the farmers, they told that the weed infestation is much higher under the organic production system compared to the conventional systems, and which is mainly two counts. One is due to the external use of manures. When you use the external use of manures, of course, due to the this weed seed presence of the weed seeds, the weed density gets increased in the field. Whereas in the integrated organic farming systems, wherein all the inputs are produced within the farm, so there is less chance of building up of the weed seed bank in the soil. So this way we have to plan and do practice the organic farming systems. And insect disease management, yes, there are several issues are there, but still we have identified a lot of rhizobacteria, ginger endophytic bacteria, ginger rhizobacteria. Then there are certain aqueous leaf extracts have been tested against the fruit borer, fruit rot. So this type of natural enemy population, or the mechanical traps, intercrops, trap crops, all these can be employed to manage the insect-based diseases under the organic farming systems. And the one more observation, the critical observation which we have taken is that after 2-3 years, the natural enemy population in the under the organic plots gets significantly higher, almost 70 to 80% higher than the conventional systems. So that itself makes it as a natural defense mechanism for the against the insect diseases. So during the initial years, 1 or 2 years, there will be a problem till you build up the natural enemies. Once this natural enemies gets built up in the soil, in the ecosystem, then automatically your pest problem or the insect problem comes down under the organic production system. There are many herbal pest repellents, herbal plants which can be utilized as the repellents or the toxic materials against the insect and diseases. Like you have got a Adadoda, Nochi, this Vitex nagunda, Calotropis, Jetropa, all these leaves can be utilized as a pest control for pest control under the organic farming systems. And exploitation of the PGPR, that is plant promoting rhizobacteria activity, is very, very important, mainly for the Carbonous production, solubilization of the phosphorus, mobilization of the phosphorus, and also the making available about the micronutrients and the potassium, N fixation. So antipathogenic activity, all these things needs to be done. And through one of our center at Calicut, we have come out with one ginger endobiotic, this one ginger rhizobacteria, and we have made into that capsules. These capsules are very easily, it can be applied to the crops for control of the ginger soft rot and also the many other soil-borne pathogens to control the soil-borne diseases. So this type of developments are happening in the recent past to manage the insect and diseases. And coming to the last, just maybe I will take another 2 or 5 minutes only. We are talking about the climate change in the recent time, whether organic farming is climate friend or it is climate negative. Many people, they say that it is having the more emission or the, but if you analyze in a overall scenario, wherein you have to take into consideration of the fertilizer production emissions, transportation emissions, everything if you take into consideration, the organic farming is having the net negative global warming potential compared to the conventional systems. Then we analyzed by using the long-term meteorological data and also our own long-term yield data. We found that during the higher rainfall period and also the deficit rainfall period, many of the crops are giving the better yield under the organic production system compared to the conventional chemical or the integrated nutrient management practices. This is mainly due to the improvement in the soil conditions. Say for example, higher rainfall period, the water duration, water holding capacity is much higher. So soil retains most of the water, and that helps for the better root aeration and also the lot of additional advantages. And during the deficit rainfall period also, the longer duration of the moisture is available in the soil due to the improvement in soil organic carbon and other activities. So the crop gets better yield compared to that of the other production systems. So this way, there are several literatures are also available, how much the soil can hold once we increase the soil organic matter content over a period of time. So just before concluding, it is not only the organic farming provides the better nutrient, better better environment, better plant health, animal health, human health. This also provides a lot of entrepreneurship options, like preparation of the inputs, processing and packaging through the PGS system, grower group certification, third-party certification. Lot of people can get employment through this type of entrepreneurship options by marketing of the organic producers through the farmer producer organizations, farmer interest groups, etc. Then just this is the organic, we need to promote the organic farming in a cluster approach, organic bio cluster approach, which should integrate the agri, horti, animal husbandry, input production, biogas, aggregation, processing, value addition. If we promote all these things, then the rural entrepreneurship and also the tourism can be very easily linked to this, and farmers can easily get the desired level of yield, economics, net returns, a better environment for their future generation, better soil health, and all the other advantages associated with it. And with respect to the organic farming, to conclude, it is a solution for a One Health. Nowadays, people are talking about the One Health. So this is having an inbuilt mechanism of providing the One Health, soil, plant, livestock, human, environment. It takes into all these health in a holistic way. Then there are regenerative agricultural principles are being talked now. So this is also having an inbuilt mechanism of regenerative agricultural principles of regenerative agriculture involving the conserving the traditional crop varieties, animal breeds, and also the soil microbes, several other things. Then it also provides the natural insurance against the weather climate related risk, which is one of the Gandhian principle also. Once you go for a diversity of the plantations, it automatically provides the insurance against the crop failures. That biodiversity conservation, utilization, round the year income, sustainability, decent self-employment can be made through the organic production systems. the rural youth, especially the IT people, professionals, or many people are coming forward to take up this one. But we need to provide them the scientific knowledge, skill for promotion, for taking up this organic farming activities. Household level food and nutritional security can also be addressed, and 13 sustainable development goals can be addressed directly through the integrated organic farming systems, from no poverty to zero hunger to several things. Then what we need to be done, what we need to do is that we need to go for a development of resource specific package of practices, because whatever the package of practices right now it is developed it is based on the blanket approach. So suppose 120 kg of nitrogen is there, so you apply this much. So that will not work at the farmers. So specific package of practices. Then especially for the Rabi crop, we need to go for a redesigning of the existing packages to improve the productivity, where there is a limitation in yield due to the soil related constraints. Then technologies, packages for improving the yield of crops during the conversion period. Then in situ recycling of the waste, we need to develop a lot of technologies like microbial consortia, effective consortia, which can work in the different ecosystems. Then the ecosystem services which is offered by the organic farming practices needs to be quantified and valued, so that we can monetize it and we can expose it to the farmers. Then the social impact of the organic farming should also be assessed. So thank you very much. With this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi Shankar. Now I think you can take some sip of water. It has been very long time, and we can stop the recording also.
Dr. Dinesh,
Yes, sir.
I want to add something or say something if you permit me.
Most welcome. Most
I
welcome.
will not take much time. First of all, I congratulate for this initiative you have taken to link up the people for organic farming and organic farming system approach. And I also congratulate Dr. Ravi Shankar for excellent compilation of the information and the research information generated through All India